This short video shall demonstrate how to install Elmer from source code in a Linux system. In particular, this is a Ubuntu 20.04 or Focal LTS system. A good starting point is such that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. A place of where to find a lot of documentation on that, how to install Elmer and the source code itself. It is the GitHub repository of the Elmer team, github.com elmercsc. And in particular of interest is the Docker directory, Elmer FEM Docker, where we have recipes for how to build Elmer in Docker containers of the different flavors. And if we look into here Docker files, we will see that there is actually a Docker file that corresponds to our currently running Ubuntu Focal flavor. So let's click that. And here you can basically see, if you drop off the particular Docker commands, what you actually need, like kind of shopping list from the package manager to install. So to make our life easy, what we can do is to open a shell here. Just make sure that you have sudo rights, of course, because you will have to install stuff into your system. So we will run everything under sudo like this. Increase the font a little bit that you can see it in a better way. And what we then simply do is copy everything here from the apt to get the first packages installed. So simply copy that and then paste it in. So this will install a quite of variety of needed ingredients to compile Elmer. Actually, that shopping list already enables you to compile Elmer without the GUI. So let's punch the button, enter, and then hopefully remember our password. Yes, we do. And then Ubuntu and the apt system will fetch all the necessary packages. This will take a while, so I pause the presentation for the time being. Yes, so this was the first part. Then let's continue. That is kind of the shopping list you need for the ElmerGUI compilation. So let's do the same thing. Sudo, and then apt or apt-get. Actually, this is synonymous. Just copy it. Forgot to copy. Control C, and then paste it here. Again, this takes quite a while, so I pause again and get back once this is done. As this still installs, let me point to the fact that you actually don't have to compile ElmerGUI alongside the main Elmer package. It's upon your choice. It really depends whether you want to use it from the graphical user interface or basically just from command line. I can point you later to that place where to switch that either on or off for the compilation that is done in the CMake configuration step. So that's done. I have to warn you, if you include the ingredients for the ElmerGUI, this in the end will install about 2 gigabytes of worth of packages into your system. So really take your considerations first whether you really need the ElmerGUI or not. Okay, so this is that. The next step then is to actually download the source code of Elmer, and we are actually in the right place here. So let's go again up to Elmer CSC, and we will look for the Elmer FEM repository, which is the place where the Elmer source code is distributed from. And as you might have realized or seen, one of the first packages we installed was Git. So Git is the version control system or version management system or revision management system which we use to distribute Elmer and to develop Elmer, of course, also. So GitHub is based on Git, and in order to retrieve the code, one can take that line into the clipboard or directly by clicking here, and then do a git clone and giving that address. Punch enter, and this will start to download the source code into a directory called Elmer FEM here under the subdirectory source. Again, this will take some while, so let's pause the video for that time. So that's done. Let's check that. Let's make a listing. Yes, and indeed we have a subdirectory Elmer FEM. One could then take further listing downs and see, okay, there are all the sources at hand. That's fine. So what we do next is again go back to our place for the cook recipe, how to compile Elmer. This is again in the Elmer FEM Docker. And first of all, let's fetch what is called a pre-cache file. So Elmer is built with CMake, and CMake is a quite versatile building package, and one can nicely set what should be included in the compilation via given files. They are so-called pre-cache files. Let's have a look at one of those. Again, this is named after the corresponding Linux flavor. So we are at Ubuntu Focal, actually including the ElmerGUI. So let's take this one. And we can see here that this gives the different definitions on what to include. For instance, include MPI, include MUMS, which is a direct parallel solver. Hyper is a parallel preconditioning suite. With Elmer Ice means that for those who want to do glaciological simulations with Elmer, that the Elmer Ice would be included. And here down we see with Elmer GUI true, and then of course we have to give all the libraries that are included then in ElmerGUI. If you want to skip ElmerGUI, then simply don't give that line at all or set it to false. Then ElmerGUI will be skipped in its compilation. So we want to have that file. So either you can directly somehow download it from here, or what you can do is simply, again, like before, drag your mouse over it say Control C, and then take a text editor of your choice. Let's see if it's installed. Yes, Emacs is installed. I'm using Emacs here. And then we simply say visit new file, and we can give it our own name. So let's say this is our Elmer CMake. And then we paste the contents inside here. What we actually also don't need, because this is for the packaging in the Docker image, so we can remove those lines here, and also we don't run our stuff as root as we would do in Docker. So we can remove that here and really just put the settings for the Elmer and the ElmerGUI part here. So let's save that. And then we can close it. Let's verify that it's here. Yes, there is a Elmer CMake file here. And that's the good news. We basically have everything. So what we do now is going back again here into, or actually into the make file here, because this includes the way how Elmer is built, and we check it out here, or actually configured. This is what we need. So next step is to actually configure the files for then building it. And best is you make yourself a separate build directory. So let's do that with make dir build. Change into it. So cd build. It's empty, of course, at the moment. And the syntax then for configuration is CMake, and the precache file is included with the -c option. This is since we are now in the build directory, one level up. So elmer.cmake. Naturally, we also have to tell the system where to build from, and this is the source directory just downloaded from GitHub. And by default, Elmer will be installed into user local, but if you want to change that, you can add a variable, which, and this is a little bit complicated, sorry for the lengthiness of that, cmake underscore install underscore prefix followed by the installation path. In my case, I choose or we can, for instance, choose our own home directory. So this would be home Elmer user in this case. And of course, it's not clever to have it directly in the home directory, so let's make a subdirectory called Elmer. Okay, that's it. So let's punch it. It first goes through looking for all the compilers it needs, then the libraries, testing also the compilers, in this case Fortran. There might be also quite a lot of warnings here. If you don't get an error, try it, else try to resolve what it's warning about. In the end, you want to see that it has been successful built. like that. Okay, so you see now the previously empty build directory includes now a kind of configured copy of the source code. What you have to do next is do a make. If you have more than one core or processor at hand, you can give a -G and then the number of physical cores. In my case, this is a virtual machine with 2 cores only, and then punch enter. So this, at least in the first stage, will double the speed of the compilation, which still on this platform seems to be quite slow, so let's pause that again. Once you're done with the compilation of Elmer, you further have to install it. This is done by giving in the build directory make. You again can use multiple cores for doing that. Make and then install. This basically will gather the stuff that has been compiled here on your local directory and throw it into the installation directory. So we just verified that under Elmer bin we have all our executable of our recently configured and compiled installation. So what we have to make sure now is that this can also be found by the system, and for that purpose we have to tell this particular path to the system, and this is best done with the shell run control file. In my case I'm running bash, so what I want to do in my case is to open the bash RC, so the run control of the shell with text editor, and this is usually system generated. I go to the bottom and add the line export path. So path is a, sorry for the typo, export of course. Path is the variable that contains all the possible paths where the system shall look for executables. It already exists on the system, so what you have to make sure is that the existing path, and you can do that with just typing $path, is included, and only the new directory, which is home Elmer user. In my case that's my username on this virtual machine, capital Elmer, and then bin is included. So this basically takes the existing path and adds the current one to it. You can even use the power of another existing variable instead of the writing out the preceding path of your home directory. You can use $home in this case, which then will be substituted by the current home directory. So I save that, get out of it. I will have to either source the file or open a new shell. In my case I'm just doing a source .bash rc. Let's verify. So let's do a echo $path, and indeed we have the home Elmer user Elmer bin added to the current path. You can now check, make sure with which Elmer solver that it's actually the Elmer solver we just have been compiling. And now you can also start to use ElmerGUI. Should be also in the path, simply by typing in ElmerGUI, and the ElmerGUI will launch. So that means that we have a successful Elmer installation. One additional hint before you install and take the hassle of preparing this system, you might want to check your previous compilation, and this is quite easily done if you go into the build directory and do a C test. You can again run on multiple cores. In my case I only have 2, and you can run, for instance, just the fast tests, not in order to spend too much time. So if you punch that, these are, for instance, the test for Elmer eyes. It goes through, in this case, 32 tests and checks whether they have passed. So I kill that, and if you want to go through the standard quick tests of Elmer, it would be -L quick. There are a few more, you see 311, and it will go through all the tests. Don't worry if large tests with a lot of MPI tasks, here in this case 6, fail. MPI has, or newer versions of OpenMPI have a built-in limit to not use by default, except you allow for it by a special option, more than the built-in number of cores. So this is not a big disaster if these larger, in this case larger than 2 parallel cases fail to pass. So well, that's that. I hope this was useful for building your own Elmer system on, in this case, demonstrated on a Ubuntu Linux installation.